Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for joining us. I have my special guest today. I have MJ from All to Love. So excited to have you here, MJ. And I'll let you introduce yourself properly. But thank you so much for coming. And I feel very few people have been in my life since my spiritual awakening in 2017, or my last big one, should I say. And um, MJ, you turned up quite early on in my journey, and you're still here. Like we're still talking, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, and I had the pleasure of meeting you after many years of watching you almost daily on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, wherever I happen to be at the time that I'm catching up with your daily shares. And yeah, today is as much about introducing you to more people in the world as much as I thank you for all your continued love and inspiration and support. And there's been many times, if this is in case I forget to say it, there's been many times in my life where I found just really hard days, just those really tough days to get through, and I'm just thinking, please let there be someone out there that gets how I'm feeling and can shine just a little bit of light, or even just turn up and drink some coffee, and I can drink coffee at the same time. And just like, it is hard being human. I get it. I'm there with you. We're all in this together. And so thank you, MJ, for being such a fantastic light all the way through my journey so far.
Thank
And
you.
over to you, MJ. I'd love you to introduce yourself.
Oh, Jon Binnie, it's so reflective. Like, same. You have been an ongoing support and presence on those platforms. And then finally meeting you was really somehow affirming. I remember you said something in the hallway about a video at one point that kind of really got you about forgiveness.
Mm,
And early on, or at one point during my phase, I was going through some deep emotional grieving and betrayal and stuff. And I was also, well, I had just sat A Course in Miracles, so it was all about working with the emotional body and doing really deep forgiveness work. And
mm,
you mentioned one of those, and I just thought, wowzers, like this person has been in my life for many years now. And as you know, especially when we're navigating the online stuff, those few people that show up early on, I think, are so important to encourage us and to keep us going. So thank you, and what an honor to meet you. just
oh,
just a few months ago, it's like, dang, Jon Binnie's in the house, like for
literally.
real, yeah. So my brand is called All to Love. There's a shirt, you and I think you also have the T-mail store. I've got stuff that says the All to Love. I also have a tattoo of this, and one of our mutual friends, Scott, has a tattoo of that on his shoulder. My mom was even considering it a tattoo. Um, and All to Love, the more practical story is that I was actually dating a musician many, many years ago when I was really starting out on my yoga teaching career
Mhm.
back in 2011, 2012. And just through our conversations as we were getting to know each other, he went through some awakenings and he ended up recording an EP called All to Love. And at that same time, I was trying to figure out what to call my business as a yoga teacher and a blogger, because I was doing a lot of like wellness blogs for different, like Elephant Journal and Mind Body Green. So that's when I kind of got into all the writing. And when he said he was going to call his album All to Love, I was like, that's it. I want that name. So I created the website back in 2012, around the time that I started posting mostly yoga tutorials
Mhm.
on YouTube. And then really just through inspiration through other teachers. One of my personal yoga teachers and one of my fave teachers out there, her name is Tara Stiles, and she was doing the yoga posting, but also other types of sharing. And I thought, yeah, I think I want to do that too.
Yeah.
So I started to share on YouTube more about healing. because in the West well, maybe all over, but we see yoga as a very kind of physical practice, which it is,
Mhm.
but it's very, very profound. And as I got more into meditation, I started to work with other spiritual healers and find the emotional side of healing that people call shadow work. In my book, I call it like emotional storms, because it really is a profound experience to release emotion that you've been harboring, and there's information in there. Um, so so it kind of merged into sharing on YouTube more vulnerably, and like yourself, but in my own journey, like there was a channel at the time that shared just organically. Like I'd never met this woman. I watched a few of her videos, but she shared a video, and my platform got a bit of a boost back in 2018. And you were there before. You were there when I published my book, and I'm sure you purchased it and shared stuff about it. Um and then another kind of uptake of the crew come along in 2018 when I was sharing really vulnerably. Like I kind of look back and think, oh my God, like what was I doing? Like,
It was amazing.
and
It was,
I,
to be honest, it was life-changing for me.
right,
Those
right.
shares, they really changed my life. And I hope that I'll let you talk about it in a moment. But I hope you also see that in me. What you see
Yeah.
in me now is a person molded by some of those experiences that you shared. I'm trying not to cry.
Yeah, but like that means so much to me, because it's like, without being nude, but it's like opening
Yeah.
your heart and being like, here. And as much as there have been wonderful souls like yourself show up, there's also been other experiences which were bordering on kind of traumatizing,
Mhm.
um, which I couldn't have anticipated. But it's also part of the journey, because it helped me, which I discern it as almost like a bit of wounding, that there was a part of my, I guess, ego that was coming from a place of like just wanting to save everybody, wanting to help everybody, thinking that I could.
Mhm.
And then along that journey, chipping away at that wounding within me and realizing, oh, that's not my job, and that's impossible, and it certainly is not my responsibility. And I genuinely don't like, I have lots of love, but I don't necessarily have the skill set or the awareness of how to help some types of people, right? And they're just trusting that that everyone finds their way. And so over time, so thank you for that. And it was truly guided. Like I had my earliest awakenings back in 2001, and that was a very sort of cosmic, but also quite practical, in as far as the way I was able to see into the global economy and the political system. And it was quite penetrative. And I ended up at 19 years old pretty much renouncing materiality. I booked a one-way ticket to England, obviously intuitively knowing that I'd end up staying, because I've now been here for 20 plus years. But I didn't at the time. I just knew that I wanted to go, like I had to go.
Yeah.
And I when I finally started to make enough money to survive teaching yoga is when I embraced having stuff, like allowing myself to have a bit more. And now I'm much more in that energy of, you know, endeavoring to master more of the three-dimensional reality, and live in synergy and balance and all that kind of stuff. Whereas when I renounced the materiality, there felt like a bit of a deficit, almost like
Mhm.
there was a unworthiness. Or and I when I was making money in my integrity as a yoga teacher, I thought, no, 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 like I'm allowed to have things. I still, you mentioned in the before we went live, but like about my courses, the Be the Change courses. So all the sharing on the tube, and then working on the website behind the scenes, and doing a lot of blogging and writing for myself and ghostwriting for other wellness practitioners. Um, and for many years, I would only, because again of my awareness of the economy and consumerism, I would only ever buy secondhand. So I'd buy from charity shops and I'd buy from eBay and realize that I could buy the name brands, but at a fraction of the cost on eBay and still feel like sort of like respectable going into some of these really um, award-winning retreats and things. And because prior to letting myself properly shop again, I had two pairs of trousers and one of them had paint stains all over and the other ones had holes in them. And I just thought like, I need to look a little bit more put together for some of the
Yeah.
gigs that I was getting. And so with All to Love, the website, and then as I shared more on YouTube, the so I had my early awakenings in 2001, and then by 2016, so I'd been teaching. I was guided to host my first yoga and surf retreat in Morocco in 2016, and I attracted very briefly like a mentor slash somebody who was interested in investing and working with All to Love. It didn't kind of um, go much beyond that. There was just interest, but I I booked a ticket to Bali and I wrote my book. So the book, so and then oh yeah, so when I was on that yoga retreat in 2016, one of my cosmic, I call it like a cosmic dream because it was so visceral and profound.
Yeah.
And in that dream, it was just my sister and I stood on top of a rooftop in a building which looked like a city, and a
Mm.
huge cosmic green light kind of come round the planet, and then it come down and it hit me in the heart and it lifted me up. And in 2016 I had a moment where that dream become true. So there was
Mm.
like a prophetic element as far as, now then it wasn't my sister, but there's sort of denouement to that because now my real sister and I are back together and we're both living in Rose addresses. It's really fascinating. But um in 2016, the woman that I co-hosted with, her birthday was the same birthday as my sister. And on the day of her birthday, in just a serendipitous moment, we were holding hands. We were on top of a rooftop, and I had this like, oh, this is it. This is the dream. It's
Wow.
coming true. Yeah, I was just like, holy Shazam. Um, and so that year is the year that I published the book. And then I did attract a small investment for All to Love in 2017. That's when I was really, and that's when you come along and I was promoting the Fearless Life Tribe and doing stuff like that. And then I think it was by the end of 2017, a co-collaborator and I went to Bali, and that's what triggered the Be the Change online courses.
Mm.
So those are 4 courses, and to me, they sort of structure the foundation of how I try my best to live my life and the sort of values of All to Love. And so I'm a longtime veggie and vegan. I don't. I endeavor to say to people I'm a non-radical vegan because sometimes I will eat organic free range eggs, or I don't eat dairy, and I certainly don't eat flesh, and I that works for me. And I'm
Yeah.
not a nutritionist, and I never want to make people feel bad for their food choices. But for me personally, that has always aligned. And so there's a vegan course, All to Vegan Love. There's my Spirituality Simplified, which is just my interpretation of spirituality and how to kind of ground in. Obviously, there's lots of yoga and meditation and stuff on that course, and there's interviews with different sort of creators. And then there's the Zenful Zero Waste, which I co-created with another girl who helped out with that. And that one's quite intense. Like the Zenful Zero Waste one, um, I do my best with that, but like I still end up buying. It's hard in our society. So and the and the and the reason we called it Zenful was that it's not worth your mental health. As far as like, I think when you become more aware of those things, it can
Yeah.
almost become, you get it, like it's almost overwhelming and like, oh my god, ah,
Mm.
I'm not even going to be able to eat because you can go to some places and everything's in the plastic packaging. And
Yeah.
so all of this stuff, we need to use discernment and still look after our mental emotional well-being.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the Zenful Zero Waste, and then see, the vegan course and the zero waste touch on my secondhand shopping vibratory.
Mm.
And then the final one is Unplug for Freedom, which is the fact that I stopped watching TV well over 10 years ago now, probably closer to 15. And again, that was coming like as I was getting into my yoga, I was still in a habit of like coming home and just putting the TV on and watching. And I just knew intuitively, I was like, this isn't good for me. Like, just like nowadays, it's the phone and it's the computer. Yeah. There's so the addiction is still there as far as like wanting to absorb this information. But I do find that at least with social media, we have a little bit more conscious control if you're aware of it. Like you can kind of as in I only follow people that I want to engage with and like people's content that I feel resonates with the path that I'm on. So those four courses are sort of the pillars of what can help people hopefully like attune to their love like the and then all to love really does mean because I've had people over the year like very rarely but people there's be like all to love, ooh, is that a dating brand or something? I'm like, not at all, like
Oh yeah.
no. It's more about like my course in miracles and like my own journey and reading a lot of Marianne Williamson and stuff like that, where it was more about the true love deep within, like
Yeah.
our connection to source. And my early awakenings, one of the moments was just watching a beautiful sunset and starting to weep because I felt this total connectivity, like I am that sun. Or even just the rapture of like when you're looking at nature or sunshine or moons or stars, something so beyond our little lives but also completely unified with that
Yeah.
beauty and that serenity. Yeah. So that love. And then I thought, all to love, like how much better our world could be if everybody, all of us, were kind of working on feeling that love and that unity. And of course, through when I wrote my book really come off the back of doing deeper emotional alchemical work, which as you know too, like it's deep, it's ugly, it's painful, and yet there's always that deeper backbone within of the love of the light that's going, you're safe, let yourself process this pain, let yourself heal this grief. And so there's a kind of divine container that's like loving you
Yeah.
through the pain, the chaos. Like even you mentioned me moving, like even when things blindside us a bit and we have to make profound change, it's like, oh God, but still on this journey, I'm aware that I'm being guided, that I'm safe, like where and I have to trust. So then I have to process the grief or process the kind of instability.
Mm.
And what I'm observing still is that the deeper I go, the more safety I feel. The deeper I go, the more held I feel.
Yeah.
And like even you a few weeks back asked me, I was like, oh my God, yay. Like, yay, getting to connect. Cause that's coming through a lot, even in some of my readings or just my own awareness. Part of I feel like there was cosmic or divine intervention because where I was living is beautiful, because you've been there, as beautiful as it is, it's very remote.
Yeah.
And because I work online, I could spend days just chilling at the cottage and
Yeah.
not see a
I can imagine
soul.
it was beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And like tending to my garden, and Scott and I made the garden bed. It's like, yay. And then it was like, no, you have to go, woman. You have to meet, you have to socialize and see other human beings in real time as well. So even living here where I'm living now, I have neighbors, there's little kids, there's a village hall. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to set up a little local yoga class so that I have that physical
Yeah.
engagement. And I feel a lot lighter and better after now that I've made the move. But initially, yeah, it was just kind of stomaching that process because probably one of the first times in my life I really, really loved where I was living and
Oh,
felt really, yeah,
I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
I don't
And
want
the
to
universe
go.
is saying, "Oh, actually, there's this other great thing." And like, I don't want that. I want this.
Yeah, I'm good here. Like I all the ways my mind was like, maybe I can negotiate.
Yeah,
Maybe I
right.
can like make her want to make me stay. And
Oh,
then
universe.
yeah, right. And then but now that I'm here, like it's just a different landscape. Like I said, I'm right by the beach, and it's funny because pretty much as soon as I moved here, I've got other bookings coming through, and
Yeah.
like yourself, like I know you do in-person stuff as well as the online,
Yeah.
and I actually feel like that might be part of what the universe is sort of like, no, 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 you still need people. So letting people come see me for tarot one to one, because there's
Uh,
plenty of people that want to know you, like
yeah. Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
Um, and yet there's plenty of people that are on the internet who, like, I don't know if it was like that for you, but I know that within my online community there's been people that I've met along the way, and I've felt the same, where they've seen a video of mine and their intuition goes, I know you.
Mhm.
Of course, we've never met. We don't blah, blah, blah. And yet for that phase of the journey, there was an absolute knowing.
Yeah.
Like we're cut from the same cloth,
That's,
or you
I,
know.
I get that. Yeah, I definitely get that. I remember vividly when I first chatted, like DM'd with you. This must have been like, because my awakening was November 2017. I'm questioning now whether it was before or after that I first started following you. But I remember like around into 2018, it was someone like messaging you in that you, I think I can't remember what I said. I think I just like said something like saying hi, and you asked, "Oh, where are you from?" And I was like, and it's like they're talking to me. Like, what do I do? And I was out walking in this beautiful nature reserve next to where we live, and and I remember thinking, wow, this, because your energy was so powerful, and I felt like this person seems to care. Like they're just
Mm,
genuinely interested. And I was like, oh, I live in Scotland. Like, oh, great. Like, what do you do there? And from there, uh, the next big big change was when I bought your book, The Fearless Life Guide.
mhm.
Um, and it for context, right? The number of books I've read in my life are about this many, about
Nice.
about eight, and so it's one of them. And I literally just came to the end of it, and I was traveling in Canada
Yeah.
with my old work at Amazon, and I was doing I had I think a morning meeting was cancelled, so I had an extra hour in the hotel room, and I was like, well, I was taking my guitar everywhere. I'd start writing a lot more songs, but I was just doing them every week or so. I thought, I know, I'll just write 3 songs. And I did it, and I was like, "Oh, I could write quite a lot of songs." Little did I know. And and
Yeah.
and I remember from the next that morning, I was chatting with my colleagues, and your book was like kind of just making its way still around my head and heart. And and I said to a colleague, I said, "I think I'm gonna just write a song every day now." And they're like, they're like, "You can't do that." And I said, "Well, I don't think I'm scared anymore. Well, I am a bit scared, but I think I'm braver than the fear. I think I'm just going to do it. I am going to work through that fear. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to
Hmm.
not do it every day,
Hmm. Right.
um, or that I think they're terrible, or someone else thinks they're terrible. Oh, who cares about those things? Let's just kind of suck it and see. And so yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. I just released the other day my 173rd album and 2,700 songs. You know, it's just, and it, I don't, I used to obsess about doing it every day. Now I do it I say almost every day. So I take Sundays off and then sometimes other days. But I absolutely love it. And I always thought it would be I thought it would be the side hustle that took me out of my corporate job into my future
Right.
life. I thought I'm going to be a musician. It's going to be amazing. And then I realized that it was actually the music that helped teach me so much, including chatting with spirit guides every day and getting lyrics because I would really struggle to write that many songs by myself. Um, but yeah, I wanted to. So for those watching, please do check out MJ's book. I think I
I
do,
do have it.
and yay, and all to love.
Yeah.
And I love the Star Wars themes.
Oh yeah,
Just
there's a Yoda quote in there.
those, oh, they, you know, if you're, I feel a lot of my subscribers definitely resonate with it as well. And maybe I haven't heard my Yoda impression, but there's, um, I can't even remember all the quotes, but it's along the lines of, face your fears, you will. It's just,
Yes. And patience, learn you must.
yes. Um, and they just really stick uh, with me. And I feel, if anything, your book helped teach me how to become brave. And it's
Mm,
quite funny because we maybe in the past at some point we thought that bravery was a toxic word, and now it feels so empowering when I face my own fear and shadows and said, "Screw you, fear! Like, I see you. I'm coming for you." Um, those shares you mentioned earlier when you were, I'm not sure the time frame, was that around 2018, 2019, maybe?
yeah, 20, pretty strong from the 20, maybe 17, but certainly like 2018, 19, and then right up into like 2020 even. And then something for me shifted where I just started with the tarot, like you with the songs and it morphs kind of thing.
Yeah.
The tarot come in, and then eventually the tarot took over, and I was still in some like 2020, 21, 22, 23. I was in some 24 even, like really deep shadow work,
Yeah.
which really just led me back down to the mother and the father wound in this physical body. Whereas my journey, I started off doing really a lot more kind of galactic work, you could say, or um, and then it brought me back home, you could say, where, yeah.
Because what I love is that what you inspired in me at that time, I think the first thing was that what really shocked me and surprised me was that you'd turn up crying on a YouTube video, bearing your soul. And I remember quite a few times walking. There's a short walk from my, well, depending on where I lived at the time, because I've had probably 3 or 4 different houses during that time. But so anything between 5 minutes and 35 minutes. But I would just stop as I was walking. I'd be listening to you and I'd be watching you on my phone. Um, and I would just stop what I was doing. I would just stop walking. I'd just be staring, and I'd be like, I would just be dumbfounded. It's like this dear soul is bearing their soul to the world, and
Mm.
it for me, I felt like it doesn't matter what's going on in my life right now. This is someone who's being incredibly brave, and um, that I just found so inspirational because it meant, you know what, when I was sat there in a meeting that day when things were really stressful or I've been working really, really hard or someone was maybe even shouting at me, I, I would just remember that moment because it's the same day. And I go, you know what? It might be really, really tough, but this is just someone playing out their, you know, childhood narcissism or whatever it is, that labels that I wanted to pin on it. It was just like, let them be themselves. You know, what I really admire in people is people that, show them their whole self to the world.
Hmm.
And so a massive thank you, but also I feel that you in that work, not just for me, but touch many people because also you've been through your awakening uh, much earlier than me, and I know even some people from who had awakenings in 2010, and they're like, "Where have you all been?" you know, like we didn't even have much on the internet, and you guys got it easy, got TikTok and everything else. Like, oh, look at me, my chakras, and you're like, I don't even know what that was. Like, and you guys have it all.
Yeah, there's so much resource now. It's almost like, oh, we're good, we're done now. Like everyone is on it. But a couple things. So I early on, so 2001, before internet was really kind of taken over, I I was journaling a lot or streaming, like stream consciousness, and I would get downloads and write them with my pen and paper. If you remember the pen and paper times, right? But I would, and I still like my pen and paper. I feel it's like sometimes more connected to the body. But
Yeah,
um, I was writing chakra systems and stuff then, but I didn't have any conscious knowing of what I was writing.
yeah,
So that's where a lot of the pieces, you could say, locked in
mhm,
later on in my life, where obviously I started to train and then teach as a yoga teacher. And I was like, interesting. So I intuitively knew, as in I already had some sort of conscious awareness, you could say, from a past life or something like that, where I
Yeah.
already knew about the energetic systems and working with those systems and how to work with the body. And teaching was a very, like, I met my yoga teacher and I was doing some stretches and he just said, "Oh, that would be good for yoga." And that was it. I was like, I know yoga. I, and it's one of those things that even in our working and our kind of depending on our belief systems and stuff, I really had to give myself permission to do what was easy for me,
Mhm.
to let it be easy. Like, this is easy, this is natural. What, people want to pay me to do what's effortless for me, right?
Yeah.
And yet now I realize that's, for a lot of us, that's just the way. Like,
Yeah.
we're meant to be able to share our gifts and receive our livelihoods
That's right.
from that
It's meant to
exchange.
be enjoyable.
Yes.
It
And
is.
it makes life easier. And there's always a moment in my day where I'm just like, as if this is like, I'm so grateful. This is my life. And I remember you had a moment too when you were coming to visit where you're like a little tear of like, oh wow, this is my life. Like
Yeah.
this, I've now created this life where I can enjoy
Mhm.
enjoy the work I do, enjoy the expansiveness of the days, because we're not locked into 8 hours or 10 hours or God forbid more than that, because there are people that are slogging it, right? So breaking through. And then I wanted to point out too, so you use the word bravery, and the word that is coming into my awareness is the word courage.
Mhm.
And in French, so when I started in my earnest back in, I think 2008 is when I found a yoga book, and I was in a cruxy time in my life, and that's when I started to go, I'm doing yoga every day. I know what this is and it's going to help me change.
Mhm.
And I would just go through sun salutations and I would do it every day. And I was in the south of France with a friend of mine,
Mhm.
and I'd get my mat out and I'd practice every day. And we were on a kind of campsite, like mobile home site thing.
Yeah.
And there was a woman probably having coffee and a cigarette, and she would watch me every day. And she said, "Oh, courage, you have courage." And en français, so in French, the word courage means full of heart,
Oh, wow.
which to me, courage and bravery are very similar, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's that,
Full of
and
heart.
what she was reflecting was like, to commit yourself to something, to be
Mhm.
disciplined
Yeah.
means to be full of heart. And I was like, yeah, like, and I'm only connecting that now of like, oh my God, imagine like full of heart, like wanting, and then just the ebbs and flows of the resistance energies, or the, and you mentioned about like the fear and having to overcome the fear. And similar but different to you, like there were plenty of times where I'd get ready to share and I'd have to do a little mental gymnastics of like, okay, well, if McDonald's, like, I'm not a huge fan of big corporate entities that are not necessarily doing great things for the planet or the people, but regardless of the brand or the corporation, I remember just thinking, well, if so and so can promote their brand, and if some people can speak hatred into the world, I'm allowed. Like,
Yeah.
I'm allowed to share my heart. I'm allowed to express myself. And I had to do that for a long time. And um, something around the pandemic started to shift things. And then, if I'm honest with you and your peeps, it's like the 22, 23, 24, the shadow work was getting so deep and so painful that it was too sacred. It was like, I have to just sit with this, move
Mhm.
through it, and come out the other side. And I was tired and kind of guided away from being that exposed on the internet. And so, and even with it, and I would say this to people too that are pushing through stuff or working on it, you do want to find something like your music or what you share too. It's like, I could be processing some deep emotional grief, kind of pull myself together and then do a fun little tarot reading. So
Yeah.
so all over like those long years, it was like, it was just this commitment to showing up every day, to
Mhm.
sharing something every day. And now I still do. I still, same like you, I might take a Sunday off, or if I'm out with friends, I might take a Saturday off, like go. But it's so routine now that that's the morning flow. You wake up, make my coffee, sit and meditate, maybe write in the journal, and then the cards are getting out, make myself feel beautiful, and then do a little share. And whereas clearly the vulnerability and the kind of transparency of that 2017 to 19 phase was super important for my journey, and for some other people as well. Um, Now I find the tarot is a useful tool for me. Like it's a gift, but it's something that I can do. I don't have to overexpose myself, but I can still share and channel the messages, and often a bit of humor and a bit of fun. And that's something with my yoga teaching as well, that um I don't know if it's just the length of time that I've been doing this stuff, but finding the lightness, finding the
Mhm.
joyfulness, the laughter, because sometimes I find it can get a bit serious. And
Yeah. Not everything needs to be hell and back.
right, right.
Which I did. I still do those sessions, and
Mhm.
know that I won't be doing them every day for clients. You said a really powerful thing, because I feel in some part we're helping answer some questions for people, like how much should I share online, and I do feel like a huge part of it is encouraging each other to be authentic, first of all, and I think with authenticity comes these moments where either you're publicly sharing all the way through that authenticity through a really low ride in your roller coaster of life. It's like, oh, this is some really tough things, but it feels encouraging and good to share. And then there's other times, like I did in the just at the end of the summer of 2023, when I did my I love the title. I call it my deepest, darkest shadow work. I think that's some sort of hope that that's as deep as it ever goes in the future.
Please God.
It's like a future thing. Um, but that was in silence, right? And then afterwards, I came out. I literally it took me about 4 or 5 weeks to fully then record a video about it and say, this is where I've been. Like
Right.
it
Hmm.
was extremely dark, and
Hmm.
yet what I've found so helpful is that literally some clients have watched that video and canceled their session with me, or they've told me they're not going to,
Hmm.
they're not going to book something with me.
Hmm.
And that feels quite empowering for me, because I feel like, if you don't accept that part of me, at some point you'll find that in me. At some point you'll find that I am a whole person and I'm a human, and I'm not I have imperfections, and I would never want to hide parts of me because I was worried about people discovering something about me. Um,
Hmm.
and yet there are also those times where privacy just feels so golden. It feels like I can do this in silence, and then I can choose to share afterwards, and not feel compelled to have to like drag all of my innards. Feel like it's like all my intestines out, and all this, like all the heart in there, and platter for you here, digest this. It doesn't feel quite so raw all the time, but thank you for for sharing some of those experiences. I feel they're so important. And I love that you say, I must admit, I'm still going through some of this as well, about um like figuring out your working day and what you love. And I
Hmm.
increasingly have conversations with my family, because I have no boss, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes I even find myself trying to put other people in that position. Like my wife's like, stop telling me about your work. And I'm like, why? And she says, do you want a boss or something? I'm not your boss. And she says, you got to figure it out yourself. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I can't just project that on you. And I say, well, she says, I know what you do. I'm really supportive. I think you're great at what you do. Just trust yourself more. And it's like, okay. um, I love that advice, but I definitely feel a huge shift out of these third dimensional programs. Still, some of them
Hmm.
are entrenched in me, even the concept of a working day and a non-working day, um, and start and an end to a day. And some of these are great for boundaries, and some of them are like, oh, do I need to have such a fixed routine? Can it be more flexible,
Hmm.
John? I'm talking to myself now. I'm giving myself therapy, right? Um,
Yeah, no, but I'm so resonating, because that's making me think of when my yoga career like took off, and I was able to be more creative with it, as in I realized I much prefer doing the majority of my work stuff in the morning hours so that I'm free in the evening or in the day, and I can go for a walk or I can go for a swim or whatever. um and I'm sure I probably did a post about this at some point, but I can remember once I got to that point where I could even, because like I'm Capricorn rising, I'm quite disciplined and workhorsey. Like I'm somewhat, I can, and it, outsiders might be like, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, because I genuinely do enjoy it and I feel better for it. But
Mhm.
I'm still looking for ways to find more joy and ease, like you're mentioning. And, but so that there was a time in the yoga career where I decided, I know I'm going to have Mondays off. Like Monday's going to be my day off because I was working on retreats and they do sessions at the weekend. So, definitely Wednesday through Sunday, I'd be up and out and teaching yoga. And then by at some point realizing it's safe, I can have a day off and I'm going to enjoy having Monday off. And it was, and sensitive souls will definitely get this, but I can remember noticing like daily imprints. So Monday was like one of the heaviest days of the week,
Mhm.
just collectively, energetically. Like it's a dense day because Sunday, and then it brought me back to like being back at school or work, when you have that dread, a little bit of a sense of dread
Yeah.
of like, oh
School
God,
fear or work fear, yeah.
yeah, oh God, I have to go to work tomorrow, or I have to go to school tomorrow, whatever it is.
Mm.
And I remember just noticing that each day, and like again, by Thursday, things are getting a little bit lighter. And then Friday and Saturday were really expansive. So I was like, wow, that is fascinating that we have like a collective energetic sort of signature
Mhm.
or frequency on like the days of the week. And now I don't, I think maybe because I've lived so remotely, my days are they just blend into one. Like I don't notice that as much. So
Yeah.
clearly I've outworked that within myself. I'm aware that plenty of people are probably still in it.
Mhm.
um but then speaking to what you're saying, I've been thinking about that too, especially now living by the sea, where I'm like, okay, just get rid of all the thoughts about what I should be doing or this or that. How how do my best days feel? Like
Yeah.
what do I what and so when I just sit and visualize, I'm like, yeah, I'll love doing a bit of yoga. So doing my personal practice or um working with a client, great. I want time to be able to maybe go for a walk every day, and I want time to cook at least one good meal every day, and I want a bit of social time every day. And so like having and there's a fluidity to it as well. And I personally, like, that's how I like to work with the large majority of my clients as well. Like I have packages that like one of my more popular ones is ongoing flexi. So
Mhm.
international clients that travel, that are busy, and basically they pay for a lump sum of sessions, but they can cancel on a dime and they're not going to get charged. And that works for me with that group of clients, because often, usually when they cancel, I'm like, sweet, sweet, and I can have a day of freedom, or I can do something else. But
Yeah.
it also reflects my own flexibility, is that means that I can be flexible with them as well.
Mm.
And then like yourself, sometimes just one-off tarot bookings, or because when you're working for yourself, there's such a deep trust that you continue to have to cultivate around knowing that everything's coming in, knowing that the bookings and the people are coming in. And I continue to find like I just have to be in my integrity. Like and because some people be like, oh, you should charge more, or you should do this, or you should do that. And it's like, well, okay, maybe, but like um so often, especially with the money vibe, it's like we all have our own unique relationship with that currency,
Mm.
and there's often a lot to unpack around it. And so navigating that intuitively, and you were talking about the over, like, sharing, and how much do I share, and like this whole process of awakening and healing and everything, it's like it's so unique. Like it's like, I know for me, yoga, meditation works. Tarot is really fun and can offer a lot of insight, but I've had amazing psychic readers, and I've like I've had actual practical hands-on healers, and or straight up when you go to the doctor and they provide you with the type of medicine you need. Like, I just like to see everything has value, and that if more and more of us are awakening, we're going to have to find creative outlets,
Yeah.
creative channels, because to me that's part of the depression of like the old world, or
Yeah.
sort of the dying system, is that we're meant to be these robotic producers. We're just meant to be productive rather than like exactly, the creativity that alives us all. And just by looking at nature, there's cycles in life, and we have cycles too, like having a bit of time away in the winter time, or knowing that there's ebbs and flows even in business. You know, you might have observed that too, like some seasons peak and then some trough, and it's just like um trusting in that ebb and flow, I
That's
think
so
is monumental.
I used to definitely have the work fear for I feel lightly, Sundays were my work fear day. Or
Exactly.
even when I was at school, I used to write off Sundays because I'd be like, that's my school fear and then university fear and then work fear. And when my last 2 years at Amazon, I went to 3 days a week, and it actually amplified
Oh, did it?
fear. Because you know what I was scared of? I was scared of getting fired. And I loved it. It's like, and yet clearly it was actually, a shadow, right? Because what I really knew was I was going to leave.
Right.
And so I was constantly telling myself they're going to fire you before you leave. And I'm like, no, that's never going to happen. I'll leave first, but I didn't want to leave, so I was too scared. But it was dead on almost to the day, 2 years to when I left. From the day I went part time to the day I left. Um, and yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I didn't enjoy 4 days of work fear. Maybe the first day wasn't, and then I'd have 3 days of work fear increasing, work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, back to Friday, feel okay. And then, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which is a lot of time, right? Of being scared about something. Um, and now I must admit, yeah, I'm much more with you that I, I did ask myself last night, do I have work fear about Monday? I was like, I knew I had some like, more challenging work to do today. And I was like, I don't feel scared of it. In fact, I'm actually quite excited about it. And then I looked at my calendar, it's like, this is great. Like that version
Mm.
of John that created this, that's a lovely idea. It feels much more flexible and expansive and feels that, some of these things will and won't happen at that time. Some things will move and that all feels good. And I love the ebb and flow, right? I'm getting much, it makes me question a bit more. I'm like you, I'm such a morning person. Will
Hmm.
I keep pushing so hard in the, um, and getting up early and at 5 a.m. in the, what's early for me, in the winter months? And yet the funniest thing is I can't wait for winter because my latest hobby is sky watching, and
Ooh.
I have a little camera for with night vision, which is better than the human eyes. So I'm watching
Wow.
UFOs and shooting stars constantly.
Oh,
Right? Please, please be winter because it's too bright still. You-
yeah. In Scotland, especially, you have
yeah,
very little nighttime in the
yeah,
summer, don't you?
that's right. We get a summer dim, as we call it, all the way through the night. So yeah, I feel it's a really, really powerful way of just constantly feeling into it. I did answer. Someone said on LinkedIn today, and I still pay attention to LinkedIn because it gives me an idea of what the rest of the world might be thinking of when they're presenting
Interesting.
themselves to each other in business, which is
Right,
just
right.
such a funny paradigm. Um, but I said to
Mm.
someone who used to work for me, and he's now become a coach. Um, he was talking about burnout, and I said, I realized that my trigger for burnout was years of forgetting what really made me happy. And I was
Mm.
chasing money, job titles, and promotions as what I thought it would make me happy. And then when I finally got to my very edge of all, almost just going off on long-term sick for at least months or worse, was I realized that needed to change, that I just was unhappy doing that and projecting this version of me, this avatar of Jon Binnie was not really real and sustainable and didn't
Mm.
make him happy. It wasn't feeding my soul. And like many of us watching this video, our souls have chosen bigger things. Our souls have chosen, and they're a lot more fun, frankly.
Yeah, joyful, well, like just having the freedom and opportunity to look after our bodies, to rest. Like and I really loved what you said earlier about like shedding the resonance by true vulnerability and honesty of the full spectrum of our
Mm.
humanity, that a lot of us were it's and I'm almost at a point where I'd like be aware of people that project supreme perfection, or that they're somehow, and I'm thinking, so
Show me your
special.
dark.
Yeah, I
Show
don't
me your
know.
shadows.
There's still some shadows. There's, who knows, even though it's all, again, like there's value in all of it, but having the luxury to just look after ourselves and um embrace who we are. I'm not sure where I'm going with that. I kind of lost my train of thought, but um yeah. Yeah, I'm not
Oh,
sure where I was
man.
going with that. Oh well. It's all
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, I totally agree. I find it really hard to connect with public figures who don't show their full selves. And I don't
Yeah.
ask the world to say, you got to show me everything you're scared of, but just to show some transparency and in their authenticity. And simple things I do is like I never edit my songs other than the start and end, just chop off the start and end. I never edit these podcasts or chats we do because I feel that I love, as my son says to me constantly when he hears me talking, he's like, that's all he hears.
No
Just
way.
watching me just going, to him, like, stop it. And it's funny because it just feels that you get to hear the whole of someone, and so the energy of it is the whole of us, right? It's
Yeah.
not just the shiny parts where I later watched it back or someone else watched it back and said, chopped up all the ums and ahs.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't, and I like watching the authentic types anyway. I'm somebody who likes the ums and ahs and the cries and the laughs and the weird bits, where things that are overly polished often, they can, but they often don't appeal to me energetically.
Mm.
Similarly, John, like I've been to some of the big conferences or such things where I've met the main author or the keynote speaker, and sometimes they are who you feel or what you think they are, but often they're not. And you can feel, because you're in their closer proximity, that they're not necessarily who you maybe expected them to be, or how their PR machine kind of
Yeah.
projects the image. Oh yeah, that was something that come through. You were talking about burnout and you mentioned 5 a.m. and the fluctuation of change. And just recently, I've noticed that, like, I have clients in like Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. So I have some yoga and tarot clients who live out that way, which means that for years and years, I would have sessions. And like when I was doing my vulnerable sharing, I was just up and awake at like 3 in the morning. And
Yeah.
then I'd get a coffee and I'd just plow and I would do my like whatever come through, and sharing all the shadow. And that was for years that I was waking up really, really early. And this year, things are changing
Mhm.
where I'm sleeping more. And I actually, this is where like discernment and just being a human comes in, is like I was activated. So like between 2016 until recently, I was in a very like quite blissful state.
Mhm.
You could even say, even though I was crying and da da da, like when I look back at that phase, I was definitely like charged and like in some kind of, because like I wouldn't sleep, but I didn't feel like I needed the sleep, and I food was just whatever, and it was all this guided creative vortex, which was just amazing.
Mhm.
And yet, when I earlier mentioned my shadow work brought me home, uh, where my own exhilarated, ecstatic bliss and creative flow led me to burnout. And
Mhm.
that I would say is something possibly useful for people in different stages of their awakening, where um, a lot of my own personal, like mother father wounds, have to do with legitimacy and feeling safe here on the planet and giving myself permission to have a home
Yeah.
and have a safe place to land. And so when I was in that creative phase, I often, I liken it to being Tarzan, just grabbing on one branch and then grabbing onto another branch and then grabbing onto another branch, but I had nowhere to land. And
Uh-huh.
after 5, 6, 7 years of that, I just crashed and
Mhm.
burned. And out of pure habit, I would still be doing my tarot, still be doing my daily shares.
Mhm.
But certainly in this last year, profoundly, and then in the last couple of days since I've landed in this apartment, I'm like, oh my God, I'm sleeping through the night. Like I'm getting a solid six to
Wow.
8 hours every night. And I'm kind of blown away. It's like,
That's like a week of sleep for you.
it is. And I'm not, and like, I'm actually quite grateful. Like, I don't feel like I have to wake up and start working right away. Like, I can take my time and I can meditate and I can do a bit of practice. I can go for a walk if I want. There's even a new phase kind of evolving now where I'm still doing similar-ish stuff, but it's more grounded, I guess, at this point. And as exhilarating as that phase was, like you mentioned, the working paradigm, I also want people to know that you can be spiritually activated and super high vibratory, but you can still frazzle your nervous system and burn yourself out
Yeah.
if you don't have roots. And that's something that I, just through my own sort of cosmic journey, but then coming back into the earthly journey very much, where it was like, and that's where I had a psychic reading earlier this year talking about the ancestors, and that my ancestors are pleased because I'm fully aware that there's been a lot of lineage healing and ancestral healing that's brought me back home to, like, now it's time to ground and put roots down and have a proper home. And I'm so grateful that it's Devon, because for years I didn't know where it was meant to act, like home. What does that even mean? Like, I'm just going to keep traveling, like, whatever. And that's fun and that's
Mm.
lovely. But having a home base and having a safe place to come home to, I've realized that the body does need that.
Yeah.
And like, and that's where you talk about like just being a real human being, where maybe some people can. And I did pretty good, like not
Yeah.
sleeping for however many years. And like, I did sleep, but just I'd have like an hour here or two
Yeah.
hours here, and I'd be so wired and
Because
just
I also feel that there's some very physical reasons for driving up your energy. So for me, as soon as I gave up alcohol, I was like, there was this, like, it was this massive bonus. I was like, I don't need to sleep for like 8 hours. I feel way more rested for 4 or 5 hours, and then a short meditation and not drinking. And
mhm,
that was a
mhm,
huge thing. And it was funny because it was meditation and music. I knew that I was a terrible musician when I drank, and I realized as I really really wanted to meditate each day, the meditation was just so hard with a hangover. And pretty much every day I felt hungover, but I just been
mhm,
used to it
mhm,
for decades. Um, and yeah, later, a lot of it for me centered around the summer of 2023. I was on back then in my it was a spiritual psychosis, like a psychic psychosis, where I was must learn, I must activate my third eye. I must learn how to do this, past lives, future lives, and whatever it was that other people were doing. I must learn. I never wanted to learn from them.
mhm,
Learn
mhm,
all myself. I must and I must do more client sessions, and I was like burning myself out. And what I was in
mhm,
hindsight, when I look at what I was doing, it was because I hadn't figured out the grounded path with myself and my family as the main wage earner. How do I keep, you know, um, keep food on our tables and go into this new world? Clearly, I want to do something else that's not a corporate job.
mhm,
But it's the answer isn't just eating more spiritual cookies and hoping that, it's going to give me a grounded, healthy body. It was more, oh, I need to make some career choices. I need to maybe I need to get some qualifications at very least, be partially credible to some people and or to myself was really the most important thing that I found.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that really helped me. Some of it was also, like you say, getting out and connecting with other people. And
Mm-hmm.
I came out of my spiritual closet only um, in 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 2023. Just a few months later, I went to a meditation class and was crying every day to the other students. Going, I think I'm psychic. And they're like, it's John, this is like day 4 of you crying after every single meditation is doing like 5 to 7 in a day, and every single one. Be like, okay, who would like to share? And by the end, the teacher's like, I'm not sure I want to ask John to share, but did, I did some mediumship for the teacher that lost their auntie during the teaching, and I was like, this is so lovely to be able to just be. It's okay to learn all these things, but to really bring them into your life and just be there for other people, including yourself and your loved ones, and
Mm-hmm.
cultivating yourself and your heart first. That's that was some of my most powerful lessons that I just didn't know. I never knew I was meant to learn that. And when I went through it, it was just this, just a transforming experience. And it's definitely shaped now, even including today, today had some harder work in the morning. And it's like, okay, what am I going to do to, flex with that? What's going to change over today and tomorrow? I did have an
Mm.
in-person event planned tonight, but the weather's decided that um, I just didn't want to invite everyone to the 60-mile-an-hour wind
Right.
event.
Nice. Good call.
It can happen anytime in August. It's fine. But yeah, just allowing myself to go with these cycles more and the flow more. And
Yeah, right.
that's where the magic happens, right? Like I must have lost 40 pounds on the like canceling the event for the rent. And then magically someone donates even more money, totally unexpected. And like, thank you, universe. It blows me away when you really listen to yourself and put yourself first and your family and your loved ones. And for your clients and other people, you're putting their feelings and their best interests at heart first. Everything else catches up, right?
Yes.
Everything else will follow very freely. We don't need to overthink it.
No, and like it's just so true. Life teaches us. Like those all those little pieces sometimes need to happen because I resonate with what you were saying about like learning all the bits and then I'm going to do it myself and I know it and then but there's nuance to that because that's something I think all the yoga over the years and the meditation has taught me. Like we are all teachers and students. We are all like we have so much within us, right? Not in the books outside of us, not in the stuff we learn at school, not in the degrees and the certificates and all that stuff that we're meant to acquire to be more special, to be more important. Like we are it. And so like the thing, like you went to a meditation and you're like, oh my God, I think I'm psychic. Look, something's coming through me. It's like that's the juice, that unless we have the courage, right? Or the bravery to actually go, what's behind that door? Like, oh my God. And then the courage to step into it. Cause that's what I witness is that it's being trapped in the Maya, really. It's
Yeah.
being super duper trapped in the illusion that keeps people in the patterns that grind their bodies down essentially and keep them locked in because they got to pay the bills and they got to and it is what it is for people. And yet I'm aware that especially when it's coming from a really pure place within us of just wanting to be more joyful or wanting a bit more freedom and wanting to share that with people or share our gifts, it's not like it's going to be easy or breezy necessarily, but we will be lighter and happier for it.
Yeah.
Like even all the emotional processing or the shadow work, as dark and as painful as it is, when more of us are talking about it and saying, yeah, it is ugly and it is painful and it's messy, but you will be healthier and happier on the other side of it.
Mhm.
That's and again, like you and I would know this, it's just and it's through working with people. It's tried and tested. It's like, no, 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 this stuff does work. And yes, we all need a home, and we need to cover our bases, and we need to, and most of my life it's always down to the wire. It's not like there's some generational money looking after me, or big, financial windfalls that are supporting me through. I've always had just enough to do the next thing, and then just enough to do the next thing, and just enough to move. And then I see the kind of broader vision, and I just sort of keep trusting that, like, the next phase will open up, and then the next phase. And I think most of us just, with you and your family, it's probably the same, like, enough to be comfortable and be joyful and have food on the table. And most of us, I don't necessarily think, this weird thing of billionaires and people with lots and lots. From a yogic perspective, there's a distortion there. There's a bit of a wounding there, because there's a sense of hoarding resources, which non-hoarding is actually a yogic practice. That there's no, when you're truly aligned and connected, there's no reason to kind of grip on to all the resources and keep them for yourself. So, like,
That's right. Yeah.
look at how important I am because of all my stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
we have to let all that go when we leave our bodies anyway. So there's an element of detachment with all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And yet, from my background, there's a discernment of actually being able to receive more, work with more clients, work, and let my savings, build up a bit. Wouldn't that be nice? So it's like, just being really grounded and practical with that stuff. But I see it as just the next phase of integrated living, really.
Definitely. It's a huge thing, right? I know it doesn't really matter how much money anyone has in their accounts or in assets or whatever they describe their own abundance to themselves, because it's really a feeling. And
100%.
and it I know for the times that when I've been in a salary job and I've earned, the biggest salaries, for me, uh it was a really strange experience. I remember always thinking in the back of my mind, okay, every month I'd look at my salary statement, which would be exactly the same. And I remember I'd look at it and go, I wonder if one month I'll get more. And it never occurred to me. It never occurred to me that maybe that experience of a regular salary was a negative thing for me, because it
Hmm.
felt like it was a limit. And it never occurred to me. It's like, hang on, you're going to limit the amount of money? Like, imagine if I said that to you, MJ. Hey, MJ, I've got this great offer for you, right? Do exactly what you're doing just now, right? But here's the limit on how much you can earn. Like, what do you mean? What's a limit, John? Just talk me through that. What
Right, right.
you'd said it to me. I'm like, so what would that limit be? And how do we decide what that is? And what
Hmm.
circumstances would I overcome it? And I realized, for me, such a huge journey has been overcoming lack. Like, it's clearly been past lives, and then this life, this feeling of, in my solar plexus, of this emptiness, which I can stuff quite well with snacks and food temporarily.
Yes.
uh, and I can even get healthier at the snacks that peanuts and stuff that I can. But what I was really doing is this fear of, like, not having enough and then not being enough because I didn't feel I had enough.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
all along, I was closing myself with fear, a nice tight solar plexus chakra, squeezed in fear, not being able to receive. And so when I took that step off the cliff and I left Amazon in May last year, I I remember that the first few days of first 3 days, I shared a video. Of course, I was sharing a video every day,
of
and
course.
the videos just said, day three after leaving Amazon, please send me food. and um, and it was so funny because I remember saying it, and
Oh,
it was such a joke because nothing changed. Like, I still had food for my family. Like, I still had enough money for the week. I still had enough money for the month. And it was never about the money. The money was only a number. It was always about the feeling of having enough, um, and making sure that, I wasn't just, clenching myself into a fear position and then contracting it out to a salary, saying, oh, so not only am I scared, but could you look after my fear for me? Because I'm really bad with it. So
my
maybe,
God.
maybe you could.
But it's so, that's the attachment.
Yeah.
right? That's how we attach ourselves to the banks, to the governments, to the jobs, and we don't, and until we have the courage, right, to pull it back and go, what is that energy that I'm sitting with, that I'm holding? And that has become more apparent to me. Like we truly are the perceivers and the creators, and we're only ever working with our energy body in essence, right? And
Mm.
it's when you start doing that work, it is that clear. Like once you work through enough of that fear, boom, you've made space. New stuff comes in, or new people show up, or old friends show up, or whatever it is, where it's like, as the teachings go, when you change your inner world or you change your inner reality, your external reality
Oh,
changes and morphs. Yeah, it's just so true. And I yeah, I'm still working on that kind of letting go and not fixing it, not interjecting too much with people and letting them be where they are in their journey.
mm.
Um and trusting, because that's been a lifelong impulse to just want to fix and change, and I realize there's so much more work for me to do for me, right? That it's like, yeah, just keep focusing on that and trusting. And I'm looking out at the rolling hills thinking, yeah, it's happening, it's all well, like everything. And I must say again to your peeps, who, if they're endeavoring all the shadow, it does, you do ride it out, you will get through it.
Yeah.
And I think I but it and at the same time, just like the working paradigm, or just like the normal grind of life, is it can be relentless. Shadow, it's like the same but opposite polarity. It's like it can be relentless, and it can feel like it's never going to fucking end, and another trigger, and then another trigger, and then people, and no money, and oh my god, what am I doing, and it is so deep and so dark. But I'm now in a place where I'm like, oh no, you just ride it out, and it might be years, it maybe for some people could be decades. I wouldn't want to say that, but like for some people maybe it's instant.
Yeah.
But I now, like I said, I'm sleeping longer now, and I'm not in floods of grief and tears every morning before I wake up to do a share. So it's like, oh, and I'm sure I could probably break it down in a process, but and a lot of it is connecting the mother wound and healing the familial, healing my own family lineage. But like, and it's interesting that this is that we're getting to tick a bucket list and meet online finally properly, where it's like, oh, and now you write it out, and I'm in a kind of new and very physically, in my physical reality, I've got a new view.
Yeah.
I'm now looking out
Less
at the
expensive.
ocean. Yeah.
No
And
longer in the valley, but now
right,
expensive.
it's like I gotta had to root down into this little,
Sorry.
rocky cottage in this very grounded, earthy space, and now it's like the ocean, and there's a different perspective, and it's a lot lighter, and I'm like, oh wow, okay.
I
So
do think
yeah,
that, and
thing.
these different levels of these different dimensions of abundance are quite, they almost feel new to humanity or modern humanity, where we forgot,
Mm,
where we forgot that actually we live on an infinitely abundant planet. And like we do, like, oh yeah, we do. It's super true. Like if you ask the planet, you go and walk and ask the trees and the birds, how's your bank balance? Hand a little bird a phone and say, hey, Mr. Robin, tell me what your bank balance is. So just kind of look at you like, you know, just put that down because I
what
have everything I need. and
exactly.
it's not that. Um, and yeah, things that really shocked me are, you know, when I was on the edge of full burnout, and I'd been for years, if not decades, in fight or flight, right? So I was
Mhm.
already in a heightened state of anxiety and stress, and just accepting it as a norm, like
Right.
any of us do in the world at this time.
Yeah.
But then as I was about to get to burnout, I realized I'd totally forgotten. I remember a boss saying to me, John, why aren't you in a band anymore? And I'm like, oh, and I said, it would be good for you. I think you'd be better at your job if you had, follow your passions more. And he listed off the things he did. And I was like, wow, this might be good advice. And I chose to ignore it, which was totally stupid. But now I realize, yeah, the abundance of, how do I describe them all? some of these things that I'm now aware of, time with my family, a beautiful
Mm.
walk with my daughter at lunch in the winds with Patch, my dog, the
Mm.
music first thing in the morning. And this is a working day, right? A working day,
Yeah, exactly.
meeting people, having this bucket list conversation with you, about to do a YouTube live stream afterwards, evening with the family, the abundance of energy, happiness, and health,
Yes.
no numbers. And after all those things is when my wife and I talk about money. After everything else, all we ever talk about now is like the adventures we go on, the time we have together. And the other thing that's happened a lot in our lives is, people, often quite close people, dying, close
Mm.
family members, and you're like, um, and I especially with my um, psychic medium work, and passed over relatives contacting me, that's all they ever say to
Mm.
me is like, live your life. It's like you're still alive, so live it. And I'm like, okay, great. And I'll be sitting there remembering the happy times I had with them, and then they'll kind of come into my awareness and say, "That's great. Why do you think I'm turning up right now in your awareness? It's because you stop worrying about those little things. Get on with loving your life." And it's like,
Mm.
oh, thank you. And yeah, I feel if I'd known earlier in life, um, how expansive and beautiful life can be, and how enriched I can feel, and how happy and healthy I could feel, then yeah, I wouldn't have accepted such low standards of happiness and health for decades. But because the counter to that, I was like, every morning, wake up, come on, buddy, little skinny little middle-aged man, wake up, go for a run, drink some coffee, and work, And every time my body's like, excuse me, I'm not well. And they're like, shut up. Just keep going. And that was, I literally do that every day in the mirror. Not anymore. It's a very different conversation.
Yeah, like being able to, when you said something about psychic mediumship, I got lots of little
Oh,
tingles right
thanks.
on, yeah, right on the crown of my head. And like the living of the life. And I'm sure there's a quote. It could be the Dalai Lama or some spiritual teacher out there. And I'm gonna misquote it, but it's something along the lines of, isn't it interesting that we work our entire lives and end up having the money but not the physical vitality?
Yeah.
And then versus like what happens when we choose to live our lives for that physical vitality. And um in even a very humble and sort of, again, like heart-centered way, I'm grateful for my early, as tough as life has been up to this point.
Yeah.
I'm still absolutely grateful. And I'm not somebody who has the Ferraris in the car, and I don't desire that stuff necessarily, but I'm so grateful that I have my physical well-being,
Yeah.
at my age, and that I have the tools to hopefully keep that for the rest of my life, to stay. And I do yoga with my mom. My mom's had a heart attack and she's still kicking, and she can still do her yoga poses. And I can see how our own spiritual, whether we're doing yoga or we're running or whatever we choose to do, like the creative, like the music writing and all that stuff, I genuinely believe our connection is what keeps us alive and feeling good, right? And that
Your
I
aura is totally so bright now. It just suddenly illuminated as soon as you said you're,
oh, because
oh,
it's such a passionate thing. And I think, in this nature of conversation, I'm like, duh, like that is the highest wealth,
it is.
because you can get to a point in life where all the money in the world isn't necessarily gonna save the body if you've been treating it like it doesn't exist for the entirety of your life, right? So reclaiming that, and it's just that I work with people that work hard, and I'm aware that the modern working 9 to 5 paradigm is hard on the physical body. It doesn't give people
Yeah.
much energy left, so it's like,
And the unhappiness of it,
yeah,
because you hate the job, and you're like,
right,
hate
and the
the job at
dread,
work. No, I hate the way I look. Job
right,
is like a double whammy. It's definitely
right.
tough.
And yet people, and like you're that perfect example. It's sort of, yeah, I'm realizing that's such a dream for me, because you're the perfect example of like having awakenings, staying practical with it. Like, and that's what I really appreciate, seeing more of like the different people's journeys and how they're unlocking through their like through their individual guidance. But like knowing intuitively, no, this isn't going to work anymore. Like I've got to make a change, and just chipping away at that change. And I like what we're doing because it's more honest. It's not like, oh, here's 21 days
Yeah. Yeah.
until financial freedom,
Here's
or
three steps.
yeah, yeah, just follow my courses and then you will be free. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that will be a chunk of it, and then there'll be another thing, and then there'll be another thing, and then there'll be more challenges. But our bodies and our belonging to the great universe and kind of our collective energy, I think, is so it. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. I'm so grateful to be here with you, Jon. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, I must have, I must admit, because I was so scared to leave my corporate job. And it's like, for me, it was the biggest fear I've ever faced in my life. And I guess, we can never describe fear very well to each other because it's almost, in my head, um, fear is almost equal. It doesn't matter what you're scared of, whether you're scared of dying in the moment or a spider biting you, or you're scared of the Incredible Hulk or balloons or whatever it is you're scared of. If you're
It's
scared of it,
fair.
it is scary for you, right?
Yeah,
And everyone is unique. And for
for
me,
sure.
I just remember keep on thinking, I'm literally going to step off a cliff. I'm going to I think I'm going to die. That's how I felt. And I thought, my wife's going to leave me, and she's kind of like, oh, what is it you're doing, Jon? Like, do tell me, because you could tell I made up my mind, and um, after being together for decades, she's like, she knows me often better than I know myself, and I'm so grateful that she gave me the grace to just to go through it, and yet um, on the other side of that fear, on the other side of facing your fears is just an ever, as you described so perfectly, this ever expansive world. Like even just looking at your view, and it's like, look, it just gets bigger and more beautiful all the time, and none of which I feel are any constraints. I no longer feel any constraints behind how good this gets, how happy and healthy we get. As my future self keeps saying whenever I do sessions to visit my future timelines, the first thing, very first thing my future self says to me is, Jon, remember, there's no limit to joy, right? Just remember that, Jon. It only gets more joyful. And I'm like, really? Like, what are we doing? Tell me, tell me, tell me. What are we doing? And it's like, you're going to love it. It's going to be amazing. And sometimes I get little clues. The last clue I got was the way you work, Jon. You're changing the way you work. And it's like, yeah, okay, tell me, tell me, tell me. It's like, no, no, I can't tell you because otherwise you won't go on the journey. You have to go on
Right.
the journey to discover it. It's like, oh, that's exciting. Let's keep doing it. So yeah, I definitely feel just incredibly grateful and also just so excited for this continued remembrance and revolution from within each of our hearts. And just chatting with you today, MJ, made me, it's developed some hunger to want to meet more people that are going through their journeys and share more of their breaking free from the matrix or whatever they would describe it, facing their fears, however they describe it on their journeys. Yeah, thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming along today.
I'm thinking too, like obviously I got to meet you in person a few months ago, but like as you're saying that too, I'm like, yeah, you in only in my personal awareness, your energetic, like as soon as you left that Amazon thing, you expanded. Yeah, like as in that it was very visceral to me, like so, and I don't know how the algorithms work, but suddenly you were showing up way more on TikTok and stuff, and I'm like connecting to your energy in a way that for whatever reason I couldn't quite reach before.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, it definitely just being out of that vortex of energy allowed you to like step into more of who you are. Yeah, the beanie man. So I'm
No
like,
one
this is
tells you
so
that, right? No one says, hey, good news. As soon as you face your fears, on the other side of fear is this beautiful, expansive version of you that's already in you.
it's
You don't need
already
to do anything. You
you.
just need to face that fear. It's like, oh, well, thank you for sharing that. I do. I remember the shift then and continued now is yeah, just a really wonderful experience. Um,
It's nice to be on the other side of it though.
well,
As in,
yeah,
yeah, it's nice to go, it's going to be crunchy and it's going to be painful. It's going to be all those things, but you will see it like it's that classic cliche thing of the universe has our backs. Like we're not our higher self, our soul, whatever you want to call it, is genuinely like right there all the time. Or you work with your guides, right? So it's like we really are divinely guided and protected. It's just trusting in that connection, which some people kind of, or most of us, maybe we lose along the way at some point. And now more of us are coming back online to be like, hey guys, face the fear. You're going to be really happy on the other side of that.
Wow. Um, well, thank you so much for coming along today, and thank you for staying on for an hour and a half. It's been incredible.
Thank you. It felt like 2 minutes,
I know,
John. Honestly,
yeah,
it's felt
it's
like
gone
I'm
for
like, oh
hours
shit.
and
So
hours.
yeah, we've chatted for ages. I'm sure we could chat more, but yeah. Thank you
And
so much for having me.
no, my pleasure. And I definitely will come and visit again. Now,
Woo!
now, you know what you did with me, another facing a fear. I was scared, right? You know, my future is touring around the UK,
Yes.
Europe with my wife. Um, the fear I had was that I got really sleepy after driving for 2 hours, right? At home.
Right.
And I was like, these dreams are not like they're not compatible. How is this going to work? And I just had this feeling I was going to drive down overnight. I was actually running a training course, finishing a training course at something like 11:30 at night, and then drove overnight uh, down down to yours 9.5 hours. I did stop twice to go to the toilet, but I was like, it unlocked this like. So now, whenever I want to go far, I went up to Orkney Islands just a couple of weeks ago. Just drove
Oh, look
overnight,
beautiful up there.
and oh wow, it was. And I visited the same stone circles 3 days in a row, and it was
Mm.
yeah, that was a whole other incredible experience. And we bought a new motorhome, so I'll see you in that next time I come down and visit.
You. But
And
then that I know we're closing up, but that made me think of like when you are guided, the energy shows up for you.
it's so true, yeah.
Like when it's not right, and the energy will close down. When it's right, you will have infinite energy to do
Yeah,
what it is that you're meant to do. Almost like a little bit of adrenaline or something. But
yeah,
I think the more of us that keep shifting, we're as a collective, we're just going to get better and better holding one another, so that some people can avoid some of those Bernie outy pitfalls, but even that people can ride out and survive, so everyone's okay, truly.
yeah. Little did I know that driving at times when everyone else isn't is a great idea.
The best,
And
the best, right? Like much nicer.
feel I could do that with a lot of my lives. Like I don't need to go like to the park at the same time as all the dog walkers, and it's not avoiding people. And sometimes you meet the right people at the right time as well.
Sure, but the
Um,
quiet space is nice. Empty roads are nice,
so yeah,
as well as the busy ones. But I'm as an early riser, I get it. Like some of those serene moments when the majority of humans are sleeping are just beautiful.
all of nature's out as well.
Yeah,
Keep,
yeah.
keeping out the human's way.
And the
Uh,
stars.
well, how can people best get in touch with you? So I will add the links in. This help me remind
Yes.
to add these to the description.
So
Later.
just go to my website.
Mm,
We're connected on the socials, but I am Alta Love, so ALLTO love.com. It's Alta Love on Instagram. It's Alta Love TV on YouTube and TikTok. The book you can buy via Amazon, Audible, Kindle. The like John, I have the Tmail, altalove.tmail.com. And I think I shared it with you already, but for your viewers, there's a little 10% discount. I think it's just Beanie 10, but a little 10% discount if people want to book readings or do
yeah.
yoga with me, they can get in touch, and it would be lovely, lovely to meet some of them.
Oh wow. Oh, and one thing I totally forgot is because I was just about to say I highly recommend MJ, and you gave me a free reading. There's like a little offer you were doing for like a couple of free ones or low cost, I can't remember, years ago.
I
And
was wondering, John,
it was
sorry, we're now deterring, but I'm like, I'm sure I've done you a reading, but it would have
yeah,
been years ago.
yeah, it was. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
it could have been like 2019,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
and
Like when I
it was
first
quite
started.
quite short. and you said to me, because I was having a lot of problems with hundreds of people turning up outside my house in this little seaside town, going crazy, starting fires, committing loads of crimes.
Yeah, I
You couldn't have
remember
made it up.
that.
It's like hell on earth. And it went on for years, like a couple of years. And I remember you said to me, one of the persons said, John, don't worry. My feeling is it's not karmic. And I was like, well, that's good news. And then I remember the next thing you said was, you can create bubbles around like your home. And I was like, what's that? And you said, you can create like a protective bubble. Like, what do I do now? And have I done ever since for every single meditation is I create a protective bubble around me and then one around my home and then one around the planet.
Yeah,
And
always.
uh,
Yeah.
it's just for me, those bubbles, the golden bubbles, as I call them, are
Hmm.
just so instrumental to my life and work. So I wanted to both thank you for that and say thank you. And yes,
Yeah.
recommend your work. You're highly intuitive and just a really down to earth human to connect with. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. I'll look forward to connecting again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Love to get you on here again. And we should do one in person as well. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun when you come down, or if I ever get up to Scotland for a visit. That definitely, yeah, I'm well up for that for sure.
Fabulous.
Get
Great.
you
Well,
doing a bit of yoga.
yeah, right. Well, thank
uh,
you so much, MJ. And
Thanks,
thank you
John.
for watching. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Sending love.